Today we're going to be talking about dividing fractions. As we know, dividing is the opposite of multiplication. But how would this apply to fractions? How can we divide two fractions from each other? Let's take the cookie example again. Here we have two kids that we want to split the cookie among. And so we want to divide the cookie by 1/2 so that we can split up the cookie into two parts to give one part to each child. This would be equal to 1 divided by 1/2, and this happens to be 2. Because we have two 1/2 segments, each one goes to each kid. So how do we go from 1 divided by 1/2 is equal to 2? That's where we get into this property here. The property is A over B divided by C over D is equal to A over B times D over C. And this would be equal to A times D over B times C. Why would this be the case? Well, let's take this example here. First, let's try dividing 4 by 1/2. So we want to ask the question, how many times does 1/2 go into 4? We know that 4 divided by 1, this is 4. But 1/2 is half of that. So the answer should be double of this answer. We can fit 1/2 into 4 8 times. So this would be equal to 8. How does this apply to fractions, you might ask? The 4 is not in fraction form. Well, you can actually visualize 4 as 4 over 1. It's the same thing. So we can represent 4 as the fraction 4 over 1. And so dividing by 1/2, you might notice that if we use this property, we just flip the 1/2 and then we have 2 over 1. Because instead of dividing by C and D, now it's D over C. So we flip it, and now we multiply across, and that would be 8 over 1. So 8 is our answer. You might be saying, well, what happens if you just try to divide across? Well, let's try that. Let's turn this into fraction form. 4 equals 4 over 1. Let's divide across. We have 4 divided by 1, which is 4, and 1 divided by 2, which is going to be 1/2. So this just ends up being the same problem. 4 divided by 1/2 here. One last thing to note is that if B, C, or D are 0, then it doesn't work. Let's try some practice problems now. Here we have 3 over 6 divided by 2 over 4. So let's write down our property in the corner here. A over B divided by C over D is equal to A over B times D over C. So what we'll want to do is flip the 2 and the 4 here and then multiply across. So this is going to be equal to 3 over 6 times 4 over 2. We just flip these two numbers and multiply. And now we can multiply across. 3 times 4 is 12. And 6 times 2 is also 12. So our answer is 1. Let's try the next problem. Here we have variables. So this might be a little bit different, but the same theorem applies. So 3x over 12, and then we flip the 4x into 2 and multiply 2 over 4x. So multiply cross 3x times 2, that's going to be 6x. 6x, and 12 times 4x is 48x. The x's here will cancel out, and we can divide both the top and bottom by 6 to simplify this. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 48 divided by 6 is 8. So our answer is 1/8. The reason the property doesn't apply in this case is because we're simplifying the fraction. By dividing by 6 over 6, it doesn't change the value of the fraction because 6 over 6 is 1. So we can divide across. Here's the last problem here. We have a whole number and a fraction. Now we can think of this whole number as a fraction, so 3 over 1, and then we can apply the same property. So 3 over 1 multiplied by, flip the 9 and the 7, and multiply across. So we would get 21 over 9. So that would be our answer.